Call this meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Wait a minute, you got it?
Oh, they moved the flag.
Where's our flag? Here it is. I'm over here searching around for it.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's old. There's a sign-in sheet up front here for anyone that didn't sign in.
Gary, you're welcome to start if you like.
Public discussion. Are there any items?
Yeah, I have one thing. Item number 7 on the agenda, motion to hire Casey Prada as full-time, that should read part-time.
Okay.
And we do have one other discussion.
Yes, and I wanted to talk.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Mary Jo Stazzle, and I'm listed as number 15 on the agenda, but I want to talk about number 13 before it gets voted on. The motion to approve the holding tank for 48 Woodland Road, along with the resolution of 2024K. I don't know what that last part means, but I do know about the holding tank.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions on the agenda?
You want to talk about it? Do you have more to say about it?
Oh, yes, I have a whole bunch of.
Well, then you can go ahead. Your time starts now.
Okay, my name's Mary Jo Stazzle. I live with my husband Ronald at 46 Woodland Road in Hickory. We've been there since 1982. And today I am speaking with the support of all my neighbors on Woodland Road that have bought from Sam Goldfarb's subdivision plan. That would be Mel and Susan Gleason, Tony and Dalton Sears, their son Charlie, who's moved back since he's done with the Marines, Mike Ballish and his family, Kathy and Dan Shield, Bobby Weir. Those are the ones on Woodland Road. I'm also speaking for Galen Hirsch on Casey Road. There were 4 lots in that plan, 4 or 5 sold off. They butt up against the ones from Woodland Road, and they're in the same Goldfarb plan. So all of those people are supporting everything that I'm doing today and cannot believe that this is happening. I attended a meeting back April 24th of 2024, and the minutes of that meeting read, Mary Jo Stazzle presents to put on record concerns regarding a building next to her property. She informed the supervisors that both the zoning officer and the township manager answered all her questions, and that made her feel better about the situation. I did not feel better about the situation because I came to talk to the township supervisors about this and make sure that what the zoning officer and the office manager were telling me was the truth. There was no building on this site. The buildings, they started to move some land and cut down a bunch of trees on February the 23rd of this year. And I've been very upset with the whole situation. That did make me feel better. And what I was told by the zoning officer and the office manager was, this was not sold to an LLC. It was sold to an individual. He was given a permit for a pole barn. That pole barn would store only personal items. That sounds pretty good, but what I noticed, and it was like the 25th of February, after talking to Mr. Andreas, I found out, and I got a lot of concerns, that's why I came to that meeting. After speaking with him, and it's Gary Andreas was the buyer of lot 102, and I might refer to him just as Mr. A from now on. He bought lot 102, which ends up being 48 Woodland Road. First time I ever spoke to him, and the last time I ever spoke with him. My concerns began that day and have continued. They've never left up. I'm on high blood pressure medication now because of all this. First thing I said to this man was, there are rules and regulations from the Goldfarb plan, and I started to explain them all. Don't live in the past, he tells me. And, but I tried to explain it again. Several times he just shut me down. That this was not, these kind of things were really not allowed what he was going to be doing. So I emailed some of the supervisors. I've been emailing back and forth with them at times. And
Mrs. Stazzle, can I just cut you off 1 second? You referred to, I think what you said, previous requirements on the gold property. What do you mean by
There's
that?
a list of rules and regulations that I mentioned this in April, that all of us signed that bought this land. And
Well, do you have like a copy of those rules that we could see?
I do not bring them with me this time. I did have them with me in April. There's specific things that Mr. Goldfarb was an attorney, so he wanted the neighborhood to be nice. He didn't want any kind of junk cars on there. He didn't want, very simple things, but also only a home could be built on this land. There could be no foundations, there could be no trailers, and he had, listed. They're all at the courthouse, and I asked in one of my emails, did you check with your solicitor to please check these out? So that you would understand, because I think our rules and regulations are just as important as the one at Cherry Valley. They have theirs, we have ours, and now nothing's being done as far as those regulations go. I was told, and I did talk to Bill once on the phone, he said maybe a lot of this stuff is legal. And I thought, yes. I'm to the point where I don't know who I would sue. If it's going to be Mr. Andreas, or if it's going to be the township, or if it's going to be both of them. Because I've got several groups of lawyers. Anyway, I mentioned the subdivision stuff at that meeting so that you were made aware of that fact. Find my place here again. Okay, I told you that I talked to Bill. Two of my neighbors were present at that time when I spoke to him in February, Mr. Andres. He tried to bribe me with, well, let me tell you this first. He started talking about how many trucks were going to be down there. There were going to be people down there. There's going to be all this stuff down there. It might get a little noisy in the winter because they're going to be loading up salt in the winter because they got to get the plow trucks out. I'm not, this is an LLC. This is not an individual, and this is not personal belongings. His plans was to have all this stuff there. It was going to be a little noisy, like I said, maybe in the winter. So that was one of my big chief concerns. Second one was the fact that Lot 102 does not perk. There are regulations by the DEP and the EPA. They are not allowed to put any kind of garage, any kind of machine or anything that's going to leak gas or oil into that land. It has to be so far from the stream that's right below where he is, and that has to be measured. Now, this stuff is supposed to have been done, but I never did hear back from Jenna Walker. She is from the Conservancy that was doing the work for the DEP. The day she went to check this stuff out, she might have stopped, because she told, as she saw him grading, I don't know if it was him or one of his workers, grading out the place. She asked for permits. She was told they were working on getting the permits. So she is just a representative. She told me she could not shut him down. She called the township that very day, and that was the day after this meeting. It was like, the meeting was the 24th, I think, and she saw it on the 25th. So the day after the meeting, she called the township. She spoke to the manager, told the manager, you need to shut him down, he doesn't have the permits he needs. It was never done. The grading continued. I was unaware of this until July. That was supposed to be shut down in April. So, I digress. I'm off my schedule. So, I was talking about the water and the situation. So Jenna Walker's in charge of that with the DEP. And I'm the one that has to make all these phone calls, because apparently this Mr. Andreas is allowed to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, however he wants. The third concern I was addressing was the pipeline that he was moving, if you recall this. He was moving it on his own because he knows how to do it. Well, the day before the meeting, I smelled a terrible smell of gas through the valley. And Charlie did too, because he was walking his dog, Charlie Sears. And it dissipated. They ran away. I don't know what they were doing, but they ran away. They got in their trucks and ran away. I had to call the DEP on that one. And thanks to a young man named Corey Slocum, he came out, checked everything out. That well that I had been told for months is not functioning. It's not functioning. You don't have to worry about that. It was functioning. It needed to be shut down so that then that line could be moved. The line, the pipeline went right through lot 102. It now goes across the top of my one piece of land and down the side of my other piece of land. It belongs to a company that I have the name of, and I have to let them know that I'm still going by what's at the courthouse. I don't care how this man changed this around. But I'm not allowing or accepting this new one.
Who moved the pipeline and changed the position?
Mr. Andreas, I don't know if he needed a permit. I don't know if he got an inspection.
And you're saying that he moved it onto your property?
I'm not saying it's on my property. It's on the line, almost on the line of my property, on the top and on the side. To my knowledge, that's where it is. Because they do, a lot of this stuff is done in
Biggest pipe company was from Canonsburg. I believe it's.
I think that.
the company that owns it, I can tell you, the Washington
Yeah.
Energy Company LLC gave him permission to move that line. So that.
Man, was
and
was the company that owned the pipe or the gas, was that for Canonsburg company?
the one that, I think they own both of them. I think
Okay, there was
well,
abandoned when you were talking about earlier in the past.
Hmm?
There was a line that was abandoned.
No, that's what I was told.
Well-
But that wasn't in use, it wasn't functioning. I was getting that from the township zoning officer, and I was getting that from the office manager. And I even got it from one of you guys on a
That was
phone
me,
call,
because
because I think that's what you were told.
That was me, because I called the company owned that.
Yeah.
I'm right in this office. And they said that line was abandoned.
Well, they own it, how can it be abandoned if they own it?
Well, there's nothing, they're not using it for
Oh.
anything.
Well,
They just leave them laying in the ground, they're just abandoned, they don't use them, they disconnect them.
They had a big problem out there a couple years back. The Shields place almost went up. I mean, the lady actually said there's so much gas there, do not even use your cell phone. And they could not track this company down. They had to get Mark West on to fix that line. It was leaking that much gas.
But we don't know where the gas is coming from.
No, we know the gas, the well is up on Mike Ballish's house, by his house.
Right, so you don't know where the smell is actually coming from.
The smell was coming from them. They had pipes out of the ground and they were all over the place, and they were rusted and bent, and he was trying to bend them so they could go,
What?
which appeared in my direction.
I'm not discrediting what you're saying, but I'm just trying to.
Understand that?
Right, we don't know if the gas was coming from a line, we don't know if it was coming from a gas well.
It was coming from the line. That's what was out of the ground, and that's where they.
We don't have any evidence saying that. We can't argue without the evidence proving that.
Well, that's what's, the DEP guy.
And that's what we have to, we need that record that's saying the DEP, or we need something that's saying that that's what it's coming, so if we have an argument, we can argue it.
Yeah, well, that happened the day before I was at that meeting in April. That gas problem happened in April, before the meeting. It was the evening before the meeting, that's when it happened.
Would you be kind enough to bring what records you have?
I can bring what I have, but once they, Slocum shut down the well, and it was down for long enough for those guys to move the old line. Now, they didn't move any of the other line that comes down off the hill and crosses under Woodland and on my land. It was only moved from the center of Mr. Andreas's land out of his way, so he could dig his hole for his building.
Okay, I mean, what it comes down to is there has to be some documentation proving why he's doing what he's doing. If they're approved and they're meeting the requirements by the state, DP, township, whatever.
See, I'm not the zoning officer. I don't know.
Right, and that's what we have to find out
The
as well.
township should be watching this man. He thinks he can do it all because he's done it in the past, or this is his job. He has the heavy equipment. He digs the ditches. He used to work for Mark West until he got fired.
Well, I can't control, if somebody's on their property, no disrespect, I can't tell them that they can't dig a hole in their own property.
No.
As long as they follow the guidelines.
I understand that entirely. And I understood everything you said to me on the phone. And I believed everything almost that you did too.
We
And
should,
so
because it was the truth.
Till I find out these things aren't really the truth. That's what I'm finding out.
Okay.
So that was the gas well, the gas line stuff. Let's see. See, I even attempted with the Western Regional office, and they said, whatever he's doing, he needs permits, and every one of those permits needs an inspection afterwards. What kind of permits does he have? And I'm like, all I know is he got a permit for a pole barn. And she said, oh, there's got to be more than that. And I said, that's all I know. And she said, well, tell your township he needs permits. So I tried to say he needs permits and every permit needs inspection at that last meeting. So Mary Jo was not this happy camper that was satisfied with what the zoning officer and the manager had said anymore. When I came to that meeting, I was not a happy camper.
Well, I'm just going back to the requirements of the land from the previous subdivision. You're probably not aware of any of this, to comment on that because you haven't been following this, but is there any legalese to that with future building requirements if the person that sold the land to these people had specific requirements built into their deeds?
If there's anything saying, I don't know if a deed would say you're not allowed to put anything but a house on this property. I'm not sure if that's something, but it's not in a planned community like an HOA.
It's not a subdivision.
It's a subdivision.
Well, it's not.
It's a subdivision.
Sam Goldfarb bought all that property and then he subdivided it into lots.
I can tell you a little bit about that.
Well, I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about that.
Okay. The subdivision, the lots on Woodland Road and Casey Road, all heirs or persons who buy those lots out. Now, the original people who bought from Sam or bought from a realtor or whatever for Sam, they signed these rules and regulations for the subdivision of Sam's Goldfarb's place in Hickory. But all heirs or persons who buy after that are in the subdivision are still required to follow all of them. These are registered at the courthouse on the same papers where mineral rights were put. So they're all in the courthouse. I asked in an email, and I've saved every email, please call your solicitor and check this out. Now, one of my lawyers knows your solicitor on a professional level. He asked him, what do you know about this? He said, I don't know anything about it. Nobody ever asked me to check anything out.
But it's on the same portion of a deed where mineral rights would be talked about. I mean, that would be in the deed because mineral rights are always talk about in the deeds of when you're buying a property. I've never seen anything personally that restricted building anything on a property through a deed. But if there's rules and regulations, the other thing to think about is who's the person that's enforcing the rules and regulations of those properties, if that makes sense. His township doesn't even know they're aware of them.
Well, if they are aware of the bigger ones, I think if if it's a subdivision, there has to be some. And I pointed this out in April 24th.
Well, my question is, I don't know when that subdivision was created, but wouldn't that subdivision have been recorded and signed by the Board of Supervisors at some point?
Yeah, there would be some recorded document that
I
would
would
show
agree,
these
and
things.
Sam would have done it.
It would just be who has the enforcement power of, what their subdivisions allowed to have. Would the township really have that?
Well, what I think that we honestly should do is at least look at that record of subdivision to see what was recorded when Mount Pleasant Township Supervisors approved that, whenever that was.
I mean, is it zoned for that?
And
what are you doing?
And to see.
I'm trying to think how long ago that would be.
I've been in the 70s, wasn't it? Early 70s.
Gary, wasn't your house part of that subdivision? Did you have covenants on your deed?
Not that I remember. But I bought it from a private owner and they just may not have passed it on to. Somebody else had bought it from Goldfarb.
What you're bringing up, Mrs. Stazzle, are things that, quite frankly, I don't think none of us are aware of.
Yeah, well, I mentioned this all on April the 24th, that this was a subdivision from Sam Goldfarb, but these regulations were in place. But Andreas didn't want to hear about them. But I'm telling you, I'm kind of repeating what I said, but they are. There's quite a few of them listed.
This is going to go back, just like you said, back in the 70s.
I'm thinking that's when it probably started. Well, I bought and built in 1982, but some of the people were there before me.
Well, that subdivision will definitely be recorded. It's no different than when we record a subdivision today and we vote and sign off on it. So I think there needs to be some research done by the solicitor to look into it before, we potentially pass a holding tank agreement.
I do too. I really do, and a lot of this stuff that has been done, because that lot was basically a ravine that caught all the water from the upper part of the farms. And you want me to go on with my stuff? Because I want to say it all.
No, I think you got your point across.
There's a lot more.
Well-
And I want you to know that today, a letter arrived at my house. The man, it was the UPS overnight delivery man, and he said there was a mix-up yesterday. And he just rang the bell and he was off heading across the lawn. And I looked down and it said, Gary Andreas and Sons, 48 Woodland Road. And I had my phone in my hand and I snapped, I said, hey, this isn't mine. I snapped a picture, not of that one, but the one that apparently was delivered yesterday to my house. Now, and I checked that out. That's a payroll thing that had come, some kind of payroll thing. He's already running his LLC out of there, and he's fast and furiously working over there now, and I don't know why. Sunday, nobody could get any rest. It was just noise, noise, noise. And George, your zoning officer, assured me that this was not going to happen. We were going to have to put up with noise. And you told me that Mr. Andreas volunteered to redo the whole road's drainage system. Who's that going to benefit? Mr. Andreas. He'll run it on my property in a minute.
Well, it'd benefit the township in general.
It would, but yes, and you told me he's doing it for free, which I don't think that's ethical. Whatever it takes, but I don't want to pay the price, and our neighbors are paying the price. Poor Mrs. Weir, I asked her, are you going to support me? Oh, she said, get rid of that man, just get rid of that man. I used to go sit on my back porch and listen to the birds. Now all I hear is noise.
All right, I think we understand.
You don't want to hear the rest?
I think we've heard enough right now.
Okay.
So we're going to get on to the agenda here tonight. Are there any other public discussions regarding items on the agenda from anyone else in the audience? If not, we'll move on to the minutes from the July 24th, 2024 Supervisors meeting. that
I'll
were
make a
presented.
motion to approve.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion?
Motion by Gary, second.
The motion was made by Gary, seconded by Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries 3-0.
Make a motion to authorize and ratify the payment of bills and payroll for the month of August 2024.
I'll second it.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries. The motion was made by Mr. Nimmel, seconded by Mr. Farner, voted unanimously.
Make a motion to approve the departmental reports.
I'll second the motion to approve the departmental reports. The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries 3-0. The motion was made by Mr. Farner, seconded by MAGA, and voted unanimously.
I'm going to make a motion to accept the change of employment status from full-time to firefighter EMT Mike Borick to part-time effective September 1st, 2024.
I'll second it.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Motion by Nimmel, seconded by Farner, voted unanimously.
Make a motion to approve the hiring of Casey Perrott as part-time firefighter EMT effective September 1st.
I'll second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries. Motion by Foreigner, seconded by Nimmel, unanimously voted.
I'll make a motion to adopt the 2025 MMO municipal minimum obligation for the police uniform pension plan in the amount of $76,566.
I'll second it.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries. Motion by Nimmel, seconded by Foreigner, unanimous vote.
I'll make a motion to adopt the 2025 MMO municipal minimum obligation for the non-uniform pension plan for the amount of $55,639.
I'll second that.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries. Motion by Foreigner, seconded by Nimmel, unanimous vote.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the sewage facilities planning modular component 3S for Andrew Klink, if I pronounce it right, for 16 Grandview Avenue, along with the resolution of 2024 Jays and Juliet.
I'll second that.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve the Daniel Dye subdivision previously reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission.
I'll second the motion. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries unanimously.
Make a motion to approve Everly Farm subdivision previously reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission.
I'll second that.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries unanimously.
We're going to...
I'll make a motion that we table the approval of the holding tank agreement for 48 Woodland Road along with resolution 2024K until we have further clarifications.
I'll second the motion to table resolution 24K. The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion?
When will it,
Is there any questions on the motion?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The motion carries. You don't get to comment on emotions.
okay.
The correspondent letter from PennDOT regarding their safety study near the Hickory family practice was delivered. And we have that in hand.
Oh, I had it here.
Yeah. Is it in our correspondence packet?
It's in our
Yeah.
packet. Here it is. I can read it.
Yeah, go ahead, Gary, please.
This letter is in response to your letter dated June 13, 2024, requesting a safety study on Route 18 be completed at the driveway of Hickory Family Practice in Mount Pleasant Township, Washington County. The department recently reviewed and field viewed the location referenced above to obtain site distance measurements, speed limit, and warning sign inventories, and crash history. Through this review, the department determined the following results. Only one reportable crash has occurred in the past 5.5 years. The speed limit for this location is 45 miles per hour and signs are posted in the area. There is an acceptable sight distance in both directions for the posted speed limit. The department also reviewed the mitigations that were proposed by the property owner. Rumble strips and flashed beacons. Transverse rumble strips cannot be used in this manner, and flashing beacons are for use at intersecting roads and not private driveways. The department will review the entire 45 mile per hour speed limit corridor, replace any speed limit signs that are damaged and are missing, and recommend that the municipality request increased enforcement for speeding from the local and state police.
So there you go. All right, and public comments. We had Mrs. Stazzle She spoke prior to our meeting there. If you have anything else you would like to add briefly here, I'll let you comment.
Well, I have a whole list of things, but I'll say this for the next time. You're tabling this meeting, and when would that be reheld?
Well, we're tabling the holding tank agreement, okay, until we review what we mentioned there with possibly looking at that subdivision and getting that information in front of the zoning officer and our solicitor to do a review, and then they'll give us a comment and a decision on what maybe they recommend and how to proceed. I hope that answers your question.
Well, I just keep it agriculture, because it looks like it's going commercial.
We will look into it further. Are there any other public comments that aren't on the agenda? Please state your name for the record.
Jenna Antantis.
Go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Jenna Antantis. I'm here for the third time on behalf of the residents at the end of McCarroll Road in Mount Pleasant Township that wish to have a public water line extended. I spoke with PA American Water, the DEP, EPA, USDA, Congress, senators, and state representatives that advised me this is a problem that needs addressed to my municipality. On this date, August 28th, to the Board of Supervisors in Mount Pleasant Township, Hickory, PA, Washington County, we the undersigned hereby petition the Mount Pleasant Township and Washington County, Hickory, PA, are requesting to have public water extended to 9 homes on McCarroll Road in Mount Pleasant Township as an option for an adequate and safe supply of drinking water while applying for grants and available funding. Can I approach?
Yeah, you can give us to us for sure.
There's signatures.
Yeah. The one person though that you might want to contact too that I didn't hear you mention is the Public Utility Commission.
I did.
Okay, I didn't.
I'm sorry. I forgot to mention.
All right, because
I feel like I've contacted everybody except for the
PUC
president.
was actually very key in bringing the initial phase to Hickory in the big water project. Actually, Cindy Parks, that lives up on Fort Cherry Road, she put an initial complaint into Public Utility Commission, and we're very thankful that huge project, whatever it cost, basically cost the taxpayers of Mount Pleasant Township zero. It was a $35 tap-in. So PUC is a good route. We can bring that up. Otherwise, we can just maybe see what it would cost to extend those lines down there. I think it's something that we can definitely take a look at and maybe write a letter to Pennsylvania American Water in support of that.
I spoke with them. Their estimate ranges from $500,000 to $800,000 it would cost us. So none of us can afford that.
Adam, where does the water line end down on McCarroll?
Last hydrant should be Red Fox, Carroll.
Red Fox and McCarroll. Okay, so where Connie, you're in that stretch that doesn't have water too, and I'm sure you're one of the neighbors, right?
She's right next to me.
Okay. What do we think that is? Like from?
It's a half a mile.
It's a half a
in
mile.
both directions to connect to a full line. It would be a mile total.
My house is a half a mile from the intersection. Red Fox.
Okay, and where does the line on the other end, if you guys just know out of memory, from the Chartiers, does anything come down Washington Avenue on the Chartier side or Ridge Road, Hickory Ridge?
There's a fire hydrant at the end.
at the end of Washington Road.
Washington Road.
And that's a half mile also to my house.
Okay, so maybe it would be an interest of PA Water if they just knew all the facts in front of them and presented it that way, and maybe we can get the fire departments involved too, along with Chartiers Fire Department, writing some letters of support. You know, it's a good cause. I would love to see water everywhere, and I think it's a necessary. Yeah. Well, I mean, they had to stop the project somewhere, okay, and save money. And there's always going to be some people that are left
There's
out.
a half a mile.
Yeah.
And we were told it was too green. There weren't enough houses on
Right.
the road.
Well, that's what.
Yeah,
I know,
it
it
comes
went
down
all the way up the ridge.
It comes
That
down
was
to
fun.
dollars and cents, but it's a very worthy cause to support that. And I'm going to make a motion.
I'm not sure.
I'm just gonna make a
Last time
motion.
we talked that Darla had sent a letter to.
Well, we'll officially do this as a motion to make sure if we did, but we'll do it again. I'm going to make a motion that we send a letter on the residents of McCarroll Road to PA Water, asking them to extend the water line and at least get some type of correspondence and put it on record.
Thank you. And also,
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
The motion's been moved and seconded.
You have to make a motion to reopen the
No, we didn't adjourn, so.
Okay.
We'll have to make.
Well, okay, all right, I'm sorry.
You have to make a motion to reopen the agenda first.
I make a motion to reopen the agenda to add a motion item?
I'll second that.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Maria and Matt. I'll make that motion again to write an official correspondence to PA American Water on behalf of the residents of McCarroll Road requesting the line extension.
I'll second that.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries 3-0. All right, any other public comments that are not on the agenda?
I'd like to read it.
Mr. Roth?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm asking for removal of the cows from my neighbor's yard. My neighbor lives on 3 acres plot of land. I have a half-acre fenced in, 57 feet from my well and 86 feet from my bedroom window. They've kept out anywhere from 2 to 6 cows. The 2 cows presently are there. There's no manure management for the fence line 57 feet from my well. The designation of a hobby farm in our zoning and small farm right to farm act is 10 acres. Keeping livestock in the back leads to consequences that we have experienced. We experienced 3 issues: strong smell from manure, pathogens from carrying flies. We're trapping safeguard our home. It led to fly carcasses and filled 3 5-gallon buckets so far this summer. It has to be millions of flies. Most important, the manures leached into our water and contaminated our well levels. E. coli, chloroform, E. coli was found in human waste, and our septic system is in the front of the house and the well's in the back. This greatly impacts the use of our property. My wife lived in this since she was born, and we got married in 96 and built our home. 69. I'm a good reader, you know. There was never any livestock kept on the farm beginning in 1980 because it was in the USDA Soil Conservation Program. Range Resources informed us that our water testing the well, it was yeah. The only things changed over the years was the cows and the manure. The Withrows bought the property in 2015. We recognize the right of the property owners to do what they like with their property, but it goes too far when it threatens the health and safety and welfare of us. The level of E. coli, chloroform water threatened health and safety and welfare. We experienced serious health issues. To this conclusion, the land was part of the family farm and never had animals kept on it. We lived there for 55 years and never had a problem with our well. It's constructed, it's pipe, steel cap, cemented ground. The evidence of the water was perfect. The manure smell came from the kitchen sink when my wife was washing dishes. But we sent the water test to the I got it all messed up.
Would you like some help, Sweet Father?
Yeah, it would be good.
I guess in conclusion, this land is part of family farmland. Never had any animals kept on it. My dad has lived there for 55 years, never had a problem. I wrote a letter about the incompetence of Mr. Crotch to Shane and Mr. Nimmo. I could read that, but I guess that's probably best just left to your decision, but, I mean, this is ridiculous. This has been going on 2 years. And, you know, my mother's sick now over this, because she can't deal with it. Like, she doesn't have the capacity. These are like simple folks. We're begging for your help. It's a plea. You guys are the only people that can help us.
I know we had a meeting with your father, and we gave them the best result that we are able to do at this point in time. I don't know what his path of decision is going to be. I offered him 3 attorneys that probably would look or discuss that or talk with him, what they do from that point on.
Well, the implications are, you know, once we prove this, I mean, come on, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry.
Right, and I've also discussed that with your mom and dad, that supervisor we just can't force somebody to change their opinion, or we're afraid that.
Someone that's incompetent, you can.
Well, that comes at a different level. Okay, we can't make him change his decision on what he put on.
I mean, on August 13th, it was an absolute shit show. I'm sure we could all agree about that.
I don't want to comment because I don't remember that.
That was the Range Resources Mr. Loft meeting. None of you were here.
I remember being here, but I don't remember word for word or everything. The next step is the Board of Supervisors will meet, and we'll have to discuss that at that point. It's a different subject.
All right, I understand, sir. Thank you.
And I explained that out there to you as well. And then we all take whatever necessary.
I just didn't want to see my dad struggling through that.
No, we don't want to see it struggle. Absolutely not. But again, there's steps that we have to follow as well.
Well, let's get on the stick because it's been 2 years.
I wasn't here back when that started.
I understand.
Okay, so you know I've only got 8 months into here, so
I appreciate your
things are working. The last thing I want to see is anybody go through what your father's going through at that point with the flies and all that other crap. I couldn't stand out there for 5 minutes smelling that.
That's every day.
Right. So, like I said, things take time. You know.
Seems.
And no, I don't want to say this as ignorance, but you know, things weren't built overnight. And I know it's 2 years, and I know it's inconvenience for you guys, and I apologize for that. But certain things on our end has to be a time frame.
Okay, well, there's right and wrong.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
There's always a right from wrong.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Roth. Anybody else?
Can I add something, please?
Sure.
Can
Just
you
state your name again one more
Jenny
time.
Antanis. If you could please look into the Act 13 impact fee for funding or grants available under that act.
We actually just had a meeting with our grant writer talking about all different things for infrastructure, and you know, they see what projects are best suited to try to obtain and be useful in getting.
Okay.
Because some projects require certain matching funds that are necessary that, you know, the township would have to be responsible for as well. So yes, we will look into that with our grant writers.
Thank you.
I believe that was discussed.
That was discussed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was last Monday or Tuesday we had a meeting.
I wasn't here, I'm sorry.
No, it was just a meeting between our grant writers. and I.
Anybody else? If not, I'll move we adjourn.
Second.
The motion's been moved and second to adjourn. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.